Inventory of Sins, Entry 1. The name surfaced not with a bang, but with the quiet click of a mouse unsealing a digital tomb. Kevin Spacey. His name, nestled among the sordid ledger of Jeffrey Epstein's contacts, became a permanent stain. It wasn't an accusation of participation, it was worse. It was an association, a proximity to a darkness so profound it contaminates by mere mention. The legacy, once carved in the marble of Oscar statuettes and theatrical acclaim, was now scrawled on the bathroom wall of history. His talent was never in question. His judgment, however, became the subject of a global post-mortem audit. The flight logs were not a smoking gun. They were a ghost, haunting every past triumph. They spoke of a world where power provides access, and access leads to the edge of an abyss. For Spacey, the unsealed documents were a fatal misstep in a carefully choreographed dance, a chilling shadow from which there is no escape. The verdict was rendered not in a courtroom, but in the court of public opinion, where the ink of association is indelible. His empire of prestige, built over decades, now smelled of stale champagne and the cold metallic fear of exposure. The fall was not yet complete, but the foundation was irrevocably cracked. You no longer exist. The cost of this exile was not just reputational, it was financial. A bitter legal battle with the production company MRC culminated in a judgment against him for $31 million. Each allegation, each headline, each legal filing was another nail hammered into the lid of his career's coffin. Irrelevance. The truth of the courtroom became a footnote in the much larger, more brutal narrative of his public execution. He was a ghost in his own biography, acquitted but erased. The scales of justice tipped in his favor, but his career had already been weighed, measured, and pause found wanting. The empire was being liquidated. The Baltimore mansion, a fortress of solitude featured in documentaries, was foreclosed. A concrete symbol of his status, sold off to cover the astronomical legal costs. His exile was not to a private island, but to the quiet desperation of European independent cinema and the anonymity of rented apartments. He was no longer a king, but a wandering nobleman, trading on a tarnished name for small roles in films few would see. The awards for lifetime achievement felt less like honors and more like eulogies. He was a living relic, each interview a plea for a second act, each public appearance a test of the public's memory. But as 2025 bled into 2026, the past was not finished with him. A new civil trial loomed in London, a fresh wave threatening to pull him back under, proving that after the fall, there is always a further fall. The inventory of losses begins not with a career, but with concrete and glass. The Baltimore mansion, his waterfront fortress where Frank Underwood was perhaps conceived, was the first major asset to be liquidated, a monument to a power that had evaporated. The house wasn't just sold, it was surrendered to the crushing weight of legal fees and a staggering judgment. Pause nearly $31 million. That was the price tag MRC, the producers of House of Cards, put on his professional implosion. A bill for breach of contract, for becoming toxic asset number one. The sum was an anchor designed to pull him under for good. But in the murky world of high-stakes litigation, even a drowning man can strike a deal. The debt was slashed to a mere $1 million paid in installments. The cost? His testimony. He was to become a witness for the very company that sued him, turning his fire on the insurers who refused to cover the costs of his erasure. It was a masterclass in corporate pragmatism, a pound of flesh exchanged for a chance to recoup a bigger loss. For Spacey, it was the ultimate humiliation, a king forced to testify for the new rulers of his old kingdom. The result was a life of transience, from a sprawling estate to a series of anonymous hotel rooms and rented apartments. Homelessness, but with a platinum credit card. Each check-in a reminder of what was lost. Each empty room a reflection of his own hollowed-out legacy. A titan of cinema posing for cameras in a half-empty room. The applause thin and polite. A ghost haunting the edges of the feast. But the past is not a different country. It is a plaintiff waiting patiently in a London courthouse. The year 2026 is marked on the calendar. A civil trial. The final act in the long, sordid drama of his time at the Old Vic Theatre. 3 men, 3 accusations of sexual assault that refuse to be silenced by previous acquittals. One accuser, Rory Cannon, he's a name and a face, stepping out from the anonymity of legal filings. This is not a criminal case. There is no threat of a prison cell. The sentence here is purely financial, purely symbolic, but it is a verdict on his character, delivered on the very soil where his empire once stood. The ghosts of the Old Vic are demanding one last performance. A performance of prestige, stripped of all actual power. His career now consists of these spectral appearances and roles in small independent European projects. The kind of films that are shot quickly and vanish without a trace. From commanding the narrative of a global superpower in House of Cards to a bit part in an Italian series titled Minimarket. The descent is not just steep, it is poetic in its cruelty. He is a phantom haunting the machine he helped build. In interviews, he speaks of a comeback. He mentions conversations with powerful people, the whispers of a second act. But the industry's silence is louder than any promise. Hollywood doesn't offer resurrection. It only offers erasure. The deal struck with MRC is a testament to this new status, a debt of nearly $31 million, the price for his professional sins, reduced to a mere $1 million, not an act of mercy. It was a cold, calculated transaction. His testimony against an insurance company was worth more to them than his financial ruin. He is no longer a man, but a legal instrument, a tool to be used in someone else's war. The final act of this tragedy is not yet written. The London civil trial in 2026 looms, not as a chance for redemption, but as a final public autopsy. The world will watch as the last vestiges of his legacy are dissected on a courtroom table. And even if he wins, he loses. Because his sentence was passed years ago, not by a judge, but by the market. He has been rendered irrelevant, a ghost in the digital machine, forever rattling the chains of his own tarnished history.